At some point in your career as an instructional designer, trainer, or coach, you can expect the institution to consider a change in their learning management system. It seems daunting, but with the right preparation, it's manageable. Our guiding question for this presentation: as an instructional designer, how can we build skills and knowledge to help faculty facing an LMS conversion? Here are 3 things you can do to get started. First, build knowledge of the key terms. Second, prepare for what to expect when the button is pressed. And third, gather advice from the instructional design and instructional technologist community and get ready to advise faculty. First, key terms. Building knowledge of file formats, integration options, and standards for security, privacy, and accessibility can ease the transition and also help you keep up on the conversation. There are file formats that are important to know, like Flash, HTML5, and Java, but most importantly for an LMS conversion, you'll want to know the impact of files that are portable, like a Word document, PDF, or movie file, or hosted on an external site. Portable content can be downloaded and uploaded easily. Generally, these files will not have an issue migrating from one system to the next. The most important consideration would be file size and organization. Most organizations cap the total course size, generally less than 500 megabytes. So if the sum of all files is in excess of this, the course will not transfer. Also, portable files may need work to reorganize in the new system's modules. Hosted content is linked within a course, so it lives somewhere else externally, like YouTube or Panopto or Flipgrid. This means that the content will not be lost if the institution changes systems, although there may be some work to re-embed the content. The most important consideration will be integration. There is a risk that the new system will not integrate with the tool in the same way the instructor was previously used to. Integration standards. 4 terms you'll want to know are Common Cartridge, SCORM, XAPI, and LTI, as well as their related counterparts. We'll link to more information with this presentation, but the most important thing to know here is that these are different ways content connects to the LMS system. Lastly, security, privacy, and accessibility. You're probably familiar with terms like FERPA, 508, WCAG, and technical documents like the HECVAT and VPAT. For an LMS conversion, these are important because faculty may be considering new tools or companies in light of the conversion, and you may need to advise on these issues.
We'll cover an example of converting from one learning management system or LMS to another. In this case, Blackboard to Canvas. Before I continue, it's important to mention this process applies in all situations and for all LMSs. There are 2 components to every conversion: the feature functionality of both the source and target LMS, in this case Blackboard and Canvas, and the content and related use case that dictates how that content is presented to the world. There are 3 steps to an effective conversion. Step 1, we need to inventory our artifacts. So what we would do in this case is we go into Blackboard, we document every artifact, where it's stored, and how it's used. That provides the foundation for our conversion. Next, we would understand the feature functionality of the target LMS, in this case Canvas. Now Canvas may be new to us, it's a brave new world, but that should not stop us from really embracing and understanding all the different components and sections therein. It will really speed and streamline the process of our conversion, leading to step 3, which is developing the mapping document. What we would do is go back to the document that we published in step 1 and add a few columns for each artifact that confirm where each artifact will be stored in the target LMS, here Canvas, and how it will be used. That mapping document then becomes a scope document and checklist for us to step through. And if we step through that, we'll be reasonably assured that our conversion has covered the entire scope and satisfied our use case. So here's an example of a mapping from source to target between Blackboard and Canvas. And the items in white, while they should be documented, are straightforward. Announcements, discussions, and assignments work the same way in both systems. It's the items in yellow that we really will be concerned about. Learning modules, content folders, and subfolders in Blackboard translate to Canvas modules and pages. And so you start to see why the mapping document is so important, and thinking it through is even more important. How will those items from Blackboard appear and work in the modules and pages in Canvas? Same goes for content collection in Blackboard, translating to files in Canvas, and test surveys and pools in Blackboard, translating to quizzes and question banks in Canvas. Hopefully we have institutional resources that will help us, but there are other resources right online that we can use, and Really one of the best resources, I have two examples here from Texas A&M and the University of Illinois at Springfield, is peer institutions. Folks, there is so much out there. Many institutions are going through the same thing. It's really great to get perspective on best practices. These are two, but there are many more, and I would seek them out. Also, I would get involved in the communities related to the source and target LMSs. Join them. The user communities. I have here a great resource from the Canvas user community entitled LMS Migration Strategies. These logos also indicate, let's not forget about the websites for the LMSs. They have great documentation and videos that reinforce our knowledge of the tools. This brings us to reviewing results and troubleshooting, which if we follow the steps in this presentation, our troubleshooting will be minimized. Now, unfortunately, everything won't convert. In fact, the Texas A&M website has a really nice list of items where if you use the automated export-import between Blackboard and Canvas, things like rubrics and SCORM files won't be translated without a little bit of manual labor. But that's why it's important to understand the feature functionality of the LMSs so we're just poised to react to it, which really leads us to conclude that's why it's really important to understand both the source and target LMSs, because it will mean a better result.
In the third part of our presentation, we are going to look at how we, as instructional designers, can help faculty during an LMS migration. Specifically, we're going to talk about how to help mitigate the stress and the workload concerns that faculty have. There are 4 ways that we, as instructional designers, can help faculty members during a learning management system or LMS migration. The first is to make a chart comparing the key terms between the old LMS and the new LMS. This is where the mapping document that we talked about in the second part of our presentation is extremely helpful. To make the transition easier on faculty, we can show them how the terms for different functionalities in the old learning management system compare to the terms used in the new learning management system. This helps faculty quickly identify what functionalities are still included and how they can find them. If we do that, it will help substantially lower the learning curve with the new LMS, so it will reduce stress and the time investment involved. Second, we can point out the advantages of the new LMS over the old LMS. We all like to think that if we're making a change that involves a lot of work, we'll end up with something better and more useful at the end. Pointing out the advantages of the new system helps motivate faculty to put in the work associated with learning the new LMS and with transferring their content. Pointing out these advantages also helps us to reframe the stress and the time involved with the migration as worthwhile. And again, it helps to lower the learning curve for the new LMS. Third, before we roll out the LMS to the entire campus, we can carefully select a pilot group of experienced technology-savvy faculty to test out the new LMS and to give us feedback. We can also provide faculty with sandbox or development course shells where they can test out the new LMS. Their feedback and the feedback of the students who are taking classes from that pilot group will help us with the fourth strategy, which is providing targeted training. There are 2 kinds of targeted training that we will want to provide on the new learning management system. The first is faculty training. So when we provide targeted training, we want to keep in mind that training will likely need to be available both at a general or a group level and at an individual level. From the feedback based on the pilot group and on the use of the sandbox courses, we can determine what features of the new LMS will require the most training. We can offer one-on-one sessions and group sessions. We can also offer asynchronous training through videos and perhaps even through a short course in the new LMS so that faculty can have the same experience taking a course that their students would have. Speaking of students, there's another way that we can help mitigate the stress and time requirements of the migration on faculty. We can provide training and resources for students and then make the faculty aware of these resources. That way, when students inevitably have questions about how the new LMS compares to the old one or about how to use the new LMS, faculty can point them to resources that are already created by the instructional design team and the instructional technologists. For the last part of our presentation, we have some helpful links for you. The first link, the LMS Migration Tips for Instructional Designers, is a link to a Diigo outliner that contains the resources we used for compiling this presentation. The next two case study links are links to the websites created by Texas A&M and the University of Illinois Springfield to help faculty with the migration from Blackboard to Canvas. And these are the two websites that were mentioned in the second part of the presentation. Even if you're migrating from or to a different learning management system than Blackboard and Canvas, both of these websites provide a variety of useful documents that serve as good models for helping faculty with that migration. We hope our presentation has been helpful. Thank you for allowing us to share our research and resources with you. Best of luck with any of your future LMS migrations.